All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm doing another YouTube live event, and this one is with Brendan Hufford. How's it going, Brendan?
It's going great, man. I'm excited to be here.
I got this coffee this morning, and she said, after I bought it, she said, enjoy your gluten-free coffee. Because all coffee is gluten-free.
I was like, can I get some gluten added?
Brendan and I got to know each other just online. He's one of those folks that has been prolific with writing, and then he got into, you were doing a lot of Snapchat updates for a while, and now you just started doing YouTube. We should actually mention your YouTube. I think if you search Brendan Hufford on YouTube, he's the first result. And Brendan is way funnier than I am on video. He has way more to say. So you definitely got to go check him out. I really like his channel a lot.
It's all in the editing. I'm not going to be very funny right now.
Brendan also mixes together a lot of topics that I'm interested in, which is running a business, doing a side hustle, and also having a family. And right now he's focused on this site here. I think I could show this to you, photonmba.net. Maybe just give us a little rundown on what this is, who this is for, and what it's about.
Yeah, so I guess I'm like super quick, as close to a tweet, 140 characters as possible. Background of me is I started my own kind of online journey. I built a website for like a local Brazilian jiu-jitsu community, built out, some other websites, started my own jiu-jitsu company, and it all went really well. But I kind of took a look at what I wanted for my life and my family about a year ago, talked to some people who are smarter than me, and decided to sell that business. I had built a lot of that business on SEO and content marketing and things like that. So I reached out to a couple friends who were photographers that I went to church with one of them. The other one I had just known for a long time. Another one knew me because of my podcast and the Entrepreneurs in Coffee podcast, and just decided to help them. For anybody who's looking to start a service-based business, the best way to get started is just to help a bunch of people for free, make really good case studies, and then market those case studies. Just share them as much as possible. So I started doing that and picked up some photography clients for client-based SEO, and just got really passionate about helping photographers figure this thing out. Like, they're small business owners too. They're providing a service, so they have a lot in common with me doing SEO services, and I just felt like I could really help them. And also, like, from a business kind of research standpoint, being an SEO guy, like, I saw a lot of opportunity in search to make better content than what was ranking currently, and then get that to rank by creating more really good content around the web that kind of pointed to it.
Yeah, I forgot to show you this little pop-out chat here, but there's people saying hi to you. You got Simon saying hi, and Paul Jarvis just complimented you on your.
Paul Jarvis is. Thanks, Paul. Paul's trolling me. Fantastic.
Now the funny thing is that Paul is no stranger to plaid, and in the winter, that's all I wear is plaid. So this is so weird. So when I put this on this morning, I'm like, I hope we don't wear the same thing. I feel like that would happen. Yeah, I am a big fan of plaid. Oh, Paul's giving us the 3 thumbs up now.
Nice.
So I'm really excited to have Brendan, because he's the kind of guy that goes really deep in the topic, and we haven't really introduced what we're going to talk about today. And along with these other videos I've been releasing, we're talking about SEO, how to get more customers from search. Or maybe we should be calling it how to be a non-sleazy search engine optimization person.
Right. How to not be a total scumbag. I mean, here's the thing. Like, Google can call itself Alphabet. They can call itself, whatever, and make Google Glass and self-driving cars and all of these things. But what is it? Like 99% of their revenue comes from ads in Google search. Like, yeah. You're an ad company. It's like Facebook trying to pretend it's not an ad company. Like, you're an ad company, and that's fine. Yeah. But their number one product is search. So they're going to make search as good as it can be for the user. Like, if they start serving up garbage, I just think that, I did the same thing. And anybody who's who knows about SEO knows 5 or 10 years ago when I got started, like you could do silly things to make websites rank. And I did the silly things and got in a lot of trouble for it. And I just got exhausted of like, Google is paying people, you know, $200,000 a year to make search better.
Yeah.
I'm probably not smarter than those people. So like, why am I going to keep trying to game it for short-term results? And why not just do honest, good work and have it kind of, the cool thing with search is you get this like up into the, is that up into the right from your guys' view? Like this cool kind of benefit over time that compounds. So just do good work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we're going to explore today with our case study and other people's, if other people have websites too, or search terms that they're interested in, you can put those in the chat. But this is our case study. This is roadmap.space, and they are a software as a service company that does public roadmaps. Actually, I should show you guys. That's one of the things that's hard to find on their site right now is an example of a public roadmap. But let me show you this one right here. So basically, if you have a software product, if you're a product manager, and you want to let your users know what you're working on right now, what's in progress, what's going to be released soon, what's in the future, you can look on this page here, and you can also, if you want a feature, you can clap it, and then you can also follow it. So in this case, I could enter my email address and say, you know what, when that gets released, I want you to notify me. And then on this side, they have recently launched. And so if you want to just see a feed of all the features they have, this is the place to go. Now, before we got started, I'm brand new to SEO. And so every time I talk to a guy like you, I learn something new. And you gave me 2 terms that I had never heard before. Could you explain those 2 terms and what they mean?
So we talked about on-page SEO and off-page SEO. And I mentioned I was joking with Jason Zook about what he's like, I don't know what on-page SEO means. And I was like, if you know what all 3 of those words mean independently, you know what it is. It's the things you do to tell Google what your site is about on the page. So literally on page. And then off page is all of the things you do in the entire rest of the internet that tells Google what your site is about and why it's an authority on those topics. So whenever we think about SEO, search engine optimization, it's really about authority, telling Google, hey man, we're the best place to find information on this topic or these topics. And then just kind of sending the right signals for that, which is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. And so an example of on-page SEO, let's actually just go back here again. Sorry, I'm going to just open it up so I can edit it. So this is an H1 right here, and Google looks at the H1 for the page topic, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, title, they'll look at the domain name and the header tags, the H1s and the H2s. And then we get into things that you've talked about as well, about meta descriptions and things like that.
Yeah. So one challenge that Roadmap has, I'm not sure if you guys can see that page title, but the page title is just home. Actually, I could probably show it to you here. This is going to be super messy though. It just says home and where is it? It's in the header somewhere here. You guys won't be able to see this. This is going to be too small. It says home roadmap. That's the page title. Explain why that might not be a good idea, Brendan.
So it's good in the sense that when I do a Google search for roadmap, what Google thinks roadmap means is it means the roadmap that they're selling. Like they're not, you know, when Google first launched, if you Googled roadmap, they would send you, you know, websites or maybe to Google Maps or something, if that even existed back then. But they don't actually think it means roadmap anymore. Like there's maps and driving directions, but when you kind of get like put it as one word, it means what you think it means, a technology roadmap. Yeah. So they have that going for them. However, home is not a helpful for all of the other search terms that people are using around roadmaps. At least one of those should be in their title for their website.
Yeah.
And then the H1 tag should also have something related to that. An H2 tag, like when we say H1 and H2, it's how it sounds. Like H just stands for header.
Mm-hmm.
And H1 is the most important one. The H2s, you can have a couple of those on there. It's just some other like, hey, we're also talking about these other things here.
Yeah.
Around this topic.
Yeah.
So I would make sure that we put in there, like it shouldn't, there's no reason to have the word home. I would immediately replace that word home with something else related.
Yeah.
And you did some great research on that in some of your other videos and things like that as well.
Yeah. And one thing I was thinking about is, over here we have, they're really emphasizing this word technology roadmap. And so that's something you could test. I think with a lot of any kind of advice, you really need to test, especially SEO. But one thing I would test is build a public roadmap for your technology company. Here we get the word roadmap, we get the keywords public roadmap, and then we've also got technology. And that might, if somebody is searching technology roadmap, which to me doesn't, like, that's not something I would think of right away. Mm-hmm. You're going to show up, right? You're going to hopefully be near the top of these search results. And that would just be an interesting thing to test. It also tells me, I also like the fact that SEO is sometimes just good marketing. And in this case, this H1 tells me a lot more about your product than this here, track, plan, and communicate product success.
Like, what is that even? That, like, literally, if I came here and it wasn't from Google, like if somebody's like, hey, look at this cool website, I would be like, what do these people even sell?
Yeah, exactly. And the H2 is not bad. Actually, I don't think this is actually an H2, but the next section is not bad, but it still doesn't tell you what is this. Yeah. And I love action verbs in the title. Sorry, I got to go back here again. People ask me about this all the time. All I'm doing is turning design mode on so that I can edit this on page. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, I love action verbs in title. So create is a great one. It's saying, I'm going to give you the power to create what? Public roadmaps. Oh, interesting. And then, is this for me? For your startup or for your technology company or whatever, or technology, or for your tech product. Like there's all sorts of things we could test there.
Yeah,
that might be
create a product roadmap for your startup. All of these different, and just putting in like key terms. I really like the idea of like the what and the why, right? Mm-hmm. Tell them what it is and like why it matters.
Yeah.
And that could be like in the H1, we tell them what it is. And then in the H2, we tell them why it matters and things like that. It's just, and this is something just from basic startup stuff, is that when people don't understand your product right away, it's the easiest thing for them to just click the back button, because they were, especially from search, they have a big list of them. Well, I'm just going to go back to the list. I don't really get this one. They don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So this is on-page SEO. Mm-hmm. What was your other one? Off-page SEO? What's that?
Off-page. So off-page SEO is essentially links that in content that points back to your website. These could be links from YouTube videos, blog comments, really not super high value stuff, to really big links on really important websites, TechCrunch or something like that. Really authoritative domains. By domains, I just mean websites and things like that. Yeah. I'm also glad that you're using hrefs. Everybody says it differently. There's other ones that I like too, called one's called SEMrush or SEMrush.
Okay.
Which is good. It's just a different data set. They pull differently than hrefs does. I found in terms of links, I like hrefs the best.
Cool.
So I was glad to see that you kind of used that previously and things like that.
Yeah.
But what's cool about it is you can pull, like, I can not only look at my own links, but I can also look at the links of everybody that I'm in competition with.
Yeah. Yeah. And we looked at a little bit of that yesterday. So you're saying off-page SEO would be, in the case of, I think this is a competitor of theirs, is called RoadMonk. So RoadMonk, we could look at their site, mm-hmm. and all the off-page SEO is all these referring backlinks, right? And referring domains. That's what you're talking about?
In the most like clear way of putting it. Yeah. So looking at that, so if I were to give you an analogy, this is an analogy it's a work in progress, right? We start with kind of the performance of the website, which Roadmap is not very good at. I'll give you a couple tools here in a second to look at that. So we look at performance, site speed, things like that. How is it from a user perspective? That does matter kind of in Google and search, but it just matters just in running a business.
Yeah.
That's kind of the foundation of the house, right? If I'm building a home and I want to sell that home, I have to have a really strong foundation first. The on page is kind of the frame of the house. You know, you're laying out what is it, kind of house is it, what kind of rooms does it have, things like that. But it doesn't just if all you do is on page, you're never going to sell that house. Then when the off page is everything that fills the home, the walls, the stuff, you know, the drywall all the way to the siding and the type of windows that you put into it. So the type of tree you plant out front. The off page matters the most in terms of being able to sell that home. Mm-hmm. But you can't do it unless you have a good frame, and you can't do a good frame unless you have a good, like, firm foundation to build on top of.
Yeah, no, I like that. And that was one of the things I was excited to talk about is page performance. We touched on it a little bit yesterday with Nick. And what I was saying is I know friends, I'm not sure if Chris is in here right now, but I know my friend Chris has spent an enormous amount of time trying to optimize his page, especially using that Google speed optimizer. Mm-hmm. And it can be really frustrating for people because you can spend a lot of time on it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you spend a lot of time and you can't move that needle at all. So what are some of the tools that you use for page performance? And especially if we were talking about Roadmap, what would you do?
Sure. So I think a couple things. First of all, I'm not a developer. I don't play one on Google Hangouts. I don't play one on YouTube or on TV. So there's people that are a lot better at these things, at executing these tasks than I am. But the tools that I use to try and figure out if that's something that's holding a client's website back, or if we wanted to know if this was holding back Roadmap, the first thing I would look at, it's website. I think it's website.grater. Or just Google Website Grater. It's a HubSpot product, and it's pretty helpful.
Cool. So this one right here, we can grab let's put this right in here. It's going to get me to put in my email address. Justin@megamaker.co if you guys want to email me.
So it takes a second to load, but usually it gives you pretty good results as far as like things you can do to improve it and kind of what might be holding it back. So Website Grater gives it some pretty solid there's some performance things that they could improve on there, but otherwise they're looking pretty good.
Pretty good mobile score. So it's saying there's a lot of page requests, which is a big one. That's often the one people have a hard time fixing. And by the way, you folks in the chat, as always, I'm going to turn on my camera. You folks in the chat, as always, if you have questions or even tips, like you're like, hey, I know how to reduce page requests, put them in the chat. I will mention you as well. Or if you've had a tip that's been helpful for you. I'm also putting all these links in the chat, so I'm going to do that right now. So Website Grater is a tool that I'm going to put in.
And the other one that I use is just that one you mentioned, the Google Page Speed Insights.
Yeah, let's look at that one, Page Speed Insights. Often you'll do a test with one tool, and then you'll do a test with another tool, and you'll get a completely different score.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you're all great, thumbs up. And then you go to the next tool, and they're like, this thing barely works.
I also like how Google's always changing the names and URLs of their for a company that's all about search. They are always changing like where you find stuff.
It forces you to Google it.
Maybe that's why. Yeah, they just want more ad impressions.
So meta.
So we're gonna let this here run. And yeah, what kinds of things have you found? Are there some quick wins that you found? Wow, look at this. So it's compare these two here. This is funny. Our mobile score here was 30 out of 30. Google's giving it poor, and then it's giving us poor desktop. It was 22 out of 30 here. This is why I find it helpful to do a couple different tests, because what Google says is going to, be different than, you know, what someone else might say. Let's see, what are they saying here? So here's a big one that Nick mentioned too. Compressing and resizing this JPEG could save 2.2. Is that what is MIB? What does that mean?
That's a question above my pay grade.
Wait, is that the same as a megabyte?
Yeah.
What is it? It's a
megabyte.
What is MIB? Formal description. What?
Another way to get us to Google things.
Yeah. Okay, it is 1 megabyte. Despite its official size, the official unit megabyte is not commonly used. Okay,
we're all learning today.
We're all learning today. Anyway,
it would be huge if they would make that image, if they could resize that image and a bunch of the images on that page.
Yeah, so let's just load this up. This is how big the image is. Have you found a good trick for reducing image sizes? Is there a tool or a process that you've been using?
You can install some if you're using WordPress, which everybody should be using. It's just my personal opinion. You know, you can, unless you code your own websites. If you know how to do that and that's what you're a pro at, by all means, do it yourself. But if you're not, and you're like me and you know enough to be dangerous, I would say WordPress. There's some plugins and things that you can pull up. Even if WordPress does a good job of, if you go into the plugins in your CMS, like in the back end of your website, and just look for keywords and stuff, they'll pull up some top ones and you can look based on reviews and number of installs. The one plugin that you recommended before that was helpful for SEO, just as an example, is Yoast. I've recommended a lot of people use Yoast just because it's really nice for sitemaps, which again helps tell Google this is what my website is about. The only problem with Yoast is from like a link standpoint, I think it's kind of jerky that I understand the work that it takes to keep a plugin updated with WordPress updates and stuff like that. But every plugin links to his website and to the plugin itself. Yeah. Which is kind of sketchy because you don't realize you're giving them a link. I wish that was a little more transparent. Yeah. It's another thing that can slow the website down. Some people, I've used Yoast on a ton of websites. I use it on my own. I think it's fine. I don't think it slows my website down, but I've had some people, there's a lot of, if you look at if you Google Yoast slowing your website down, it's a lot of people that are like, it was really hurting me and I changed to a different plugin and that solved all my problems. So part of this is like tweaking and looking. There's some obvious solutions, like make images smaller, make it so they don't have to pull, I was talking to a buddy this morning. He has an Instagram feed on his homepage and it's in the sidebar. So it's actually on every page. Yeah. And that has to pull from Instagram on every single page load. Yeah. And I think it really slows the website down. Yeah. There's a few different tricks you can do there. One that a lot of people don't know with WordPress is you can load a static page as your homepage. So most themes, if you have a page called front-page.php, it'll load that first. And having a static page load is often way, way faster than having WordPress load all of its junk every time. You know what I'm talking about? So it'll often load every library, every font, everything, even if you're not using it on the homepage. And it's worthwhile creating a static page for your homepage and then having everything else on WordPress so that the homepage loads super, super fast, and then everything else, loads the same way as it would normally. But you're really optimizing for that really fast homepage. So if someone lands there, you're going to kill it in terms of page load times and everything else. And those things matter from a user perspective. They also matter for SEO. I think that kind of past that with the on-page thing, we talk a lot about like generating content, and I know you've talked a lot about generating content, doing some kind of reverse engineering of what people are looking for around those topics. Ahrefs is awesome for things like that. Other tools I like are called like Buzzsumo. That's more social shares, but I think that if people like it on social, they're going to be Googling for it as well. So that might help. So two things about content that are super helpful. Number one is that from a content standpoint, kind of, we don't just want to make content to make content. You want to make the best possible, like if you care about search, you want to make the best possible content on that topic. So people that try to keep like a blogging schedule or a content creation schedule, I think that's maybe those days of like 500-600 pages on your website, like those are gone. Some of the best, I remember Moz was talking about, they deleted or no indexed something like 27,000 pages. And it caused their other pages, because the site bloat was so reduced, their other pages got a lot more traction in search. So it's about creating less content that's better.
Yeah, Brian Dean was telling me about this too. What he does is he goes, for him, he'll go last 30 days, and then anything under 30 page views, he'll just delete. Or, I mean, you could always just do a 301 redirect too, but he'll basically remove it from the index. And he says it's increased his domain authority. So Google treats his domain, Backlinko, it gives it, what is it? That's right? It gives it more kind of authority for the topic, in his case of SEO.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you think about the written content, and you like, these are just words, right? It's just words on a web page. I have no doubt that Google's going to figure out images. We're not going to need alt tags and stuff like that to tell Google what the images are. They're just going to be able to figure that out.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting idea.
In very short order.
With computer vision, they'll just be, instead of you saying in the alt text tag, like, this is a cat, it'll just say, this is a cat.
Oh yeah. They'll be like, oh, that's cool. That's a couple getting married in Cancun, Mexico. Like, you're not going to need, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be very, this is not like science fiction.
Example was a kitty, and then yours is like a couple getting married in Cancun.
With photographers.
That's amazing.
This is what I look at.
Let me just pause here, because we've got some folks that recommended a couple good tools in the chat, and I like giving the people in the chat a little shout out, on the video. So first tool for optimizing images is this one here, Image Optim. And who recommended this? It was Mario Rodriguez recommended this. And then Fraser McCall. Oh, I'm not going to try your last name, Fraser, but Fraser recommended Tiny PNG for image optimization. So 2 good options there. This one has an API, so I'm sure folks have built WordPress plugins and other things on top of it. Another thing I'll mention is, if you go to Nick DeSabato's website, Nick is a designer that does split tests full-time. This is his business. And this page is super fast. It would be actually interesting to put let's put his into here too. I'll run this while
I do that all the time.
While we're talking. But
I'm always looking at, like, if you're my friend, I've looked at your backlinks and checked out your website. Like, just what I do. Yeah,
and he's only using SVGs on this page, so super fast loading. I think this whole page is under, it might even be under 5 kilobytes. Let's see what this says here. His mobile needs work. That's hilarious. So he got an 88 on.
That's exceptional. Like 85 and above is like, wow, you've done some great work.
And except it used to tell you, like, it give you an actual speed, but now it doesn't. Or even like the size of the page. Anyway, that's another way to optimize images, is just to not use very many and to use SVGs for things like logos. All right, let me go back here and stop sharing my screen. Sorry, I derailed you, Brendan. Where were we?
So I think you mentioned Brian Dean, and he's a great resource for all things SEO. Another one that I'll just kind of name drop is, and I think he's way less known outside of the SEO community. Brian's done a really good job of branding himself, like, very good. He's awesome. Yeah. And another one is Ryan Stewart. He has an SEO agency out of Miami. It's called Webris, WEBRIS.org. And he's amazing. But he and Brian are both big proponents of what's called skyscraper content, which is, I'm going to look at the best possible content, and then I'm going to make better content than that. And then I'm going to market that content to everybody who's already linking to my competitors. So if my competitor had the definitive guide to product roadmaps, well, I'm going to make a better definitive guide for 2017 product roadmaps. And I'm going to look at all the websites that link to my competitors, and I'm going to email all of them and say like, hey, I noticed you linked to this other one. This guide is better. Take a look at it. And if you want to link to it, I'd be happy to share it with my email list and social media and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the technique for doing that is to use something like Ahrefs to, in this case, I typed in my competitor, Roadmonk, and then you go to Backlinks, and you basically want to see, you know, where are they getting their kind of most of their traffic from.
You know what I love even more on there is if you go over on the left, there's a little fire emblem where it says top pages.
Okay, yeah.
This is the coolest thing in Ahrefs is now I can see their top pages that are pulling the most from search. And I can see like, oh, this is what they're really ranking for. This is what they're doing well. And then I look at that content, see what it is, and I can make better content.
Yeah, and look, they're using technology roadmap as a keyword. There's so much you can learn just from looking at what your competitors have already figured out, especially in this case, roadmap is the newcomer on the block. And, you know, for them to look and go, you know what, technology roadmap is killing it for these guys. Maybe I should, you know, have something in there. What is a product roadmap? This one here, like people who are just like looking for a definition. I love pieces like this. You know, what is a product roadmap? And if you can start ranking for that, that's just going to be a resource that other folks might even link to.
Yep.
And say, you know, this is a good definition. And if you can write a better definition, I figured this out for what is jobs to be done.
Yeah.
I'm not ranking like super high for it, but I'm right here on the first page. One thing I've thought about this piece here is if I can keep making this definition better and better and better, and more people start linking to it, I might be able to compete with, you know, this authoritative Harvard Business Review article on what is jobs to be done. Like, this is a steep competition here, but if I can keep improving this, eventually I might be able to, you know, go higher and higher.
Yeah, I think one of the things I would add to is, we already talked about this a little bit, but not making content just to make content. There's a lot of people who have for a long time, a lot of SEO agencies will push this because it looks good. They'll say like, we want to increase your keyword footprint, meaning we want you to rank for more things. And month over month, if they can tell their clients like, hey, you're ranking for more stuff, this is better, I would disagree. I think it's better to rank first or second for fewer things and only try to compete if you're going to rank first or second. And a lot of times that means publishing on your website, not on medium.com, not making, you know, some off-page thing, or not using a subdomain. So a lot of people don't know that for the purposes of Google, subdomain like blog.roadmap.space would be a totally separate website. So all of the authority that roadmap.space has, if I make my blog a subdomain, it has none of that authority. And that's super important.
Yeah. For a while there was a big debate whether subdomains were bad or good. And now it seems like folks are saying it's way better to just have a subdirectory on your root domain, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And like I said, like people like to use, you know, I know Basecamp, and I think a couple, maybe Baremetrics is also on Medium. There's a lot of people that use Medium for their blog. But I know that you and I have had a lot of success with syndicating content on Medium, leveraging that audience, getting that traction there, but focusing as far as, you know, from an SEO standpoint and whatever else, like keep your content in your home base that you can control.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back, for anyone that missed it yesterday, that's one of the things we're going to try to improve with Roadmap is, so here's their homepage. And if you go, and this is built with, if you do their built with profile, you guys can't see Chrome extensions, can you? No, you can't. So I have a little Chrome extension for built with. They're using WordPress, but their blog, oh, sorry, I'm still on edit. Their blog is on Medium. And it's okay to be on Medium. Medium's great, but what you want to do is you want to publish first on your blog, on your domain, roadmap.space/blog. I wonder if they even have a page for that. They might even have it built. They're just not using it. Nope. Oh yeah, they do. They have it right here. So publish first here, and then, you know, take this post. Oh, this is private. I get it. They privatized everything. You go to, not Mega Maker, you go to Medium, and actually, I've shown this before, but my actual process for this is first I'll go to Webmaster Tools, and I'll crawl that page. I don't know if this is an official thing or whatever, but every time I've done this fetch thing, so let's say this was on my page, fetch and render, Google will index it right away, and it just kind of lets me know, okay, I'm the first one for this on Google, and then I'll go to Medium, and I'll go to, they always hide it, but I think if you go to Stories, import a story, then you put your blog post URL in here, import, then syndicate it on Medium, and it'll automatically make sure that the parent post on your site is the, what do you call that? It has the page authority.
Yeah, it's more authoritative. It also helps to like link back to your website, and there's things you can do with tags and whatever, but that's kind of like minutia. I just think that from we should do what you do best and do it as the best as you can. That's like not just a business perspective. It sounds like a really vague statement. I guess my point is, like, instead of LeBron James trying to be competitive in 3 sports, he plays one sport and he tries to be the best at it. And I think from a business and even website and SEO standpoint, it's a really, really smart idea.
And based on what you've seen so far for product roadmap, let me actually put, what was the other one? Productplan.com was the other one. I'm just going to type this in.
I just think we try to write like really witty, pithy things sometimes, and like, oh, this will get traction, and this will get traction, and this is the hot thing, so I need to write about it. Yeah. And people don't put a lot of thought into, like, what is this telling Google and what is this telling readers? Like, it might seem entertaining, but once that's not entertaining, you know, in 60 days when that thing is not going to get any more traction out of social media and nobody's finding it in Google, like, why is it still on my website?
Yeah. And I'm actually I'm super guilty of that, as I love like writing, like, you know, like I said, like you said, like really kind of creative, weird, whatever. But especially for what I'm trying to do now with the Mega Maker brand, and have that become my personal brand, and also kind of define what I'm helping software companies do, which is fix their marketing and improve their product. To stay on topic is so important. And one thing we've seen, even just doing the research with for roadmap, is it's organic keywords, right? So this is organic keywords for our competitor here.
Yep.
And let's go back and let's go to organic keywords for this competitor. So for this competitor, product manager is a huge keyword for them. Product roadmap, huge keyword. Technology roadmap, launch plans. And then we're getting kind of variations on those. Product roadmap template, product plan, etc. So we're starting to see some common keywords here, right? For these folks, their product name is one, but then project roadmap, roadmap software, product roadmapping software, roadmapping tool. I think we're starting to get a picture of the kind of keywords that have worked for them, right?
Yeah.
And so
what I like too is they have like keyword difficult, that KD column where you see the 1 and the 22.
Oh yeah.
What's cool is that roadmap tool is difficult. It's 22.
Yeah.
Project roadmap, they make a piece, the best piece of content that they could make for project roadmap. And then they need 3 or 4 links from other websites to that post, and they'll be able to rank for it. I think if you even click project roadmap, it might even tell you, like, they have a really cool indicator on there, some very actionable stuff. where it says like, you need links from this many websites to be on the first page for this.
Yeah. So this one says you'll need backlinks from less than 10 websites to rank for this keyword. So yeah. And is that the kind of research you would be doing? Is just what I'm doing here, like going and looking at the competitors and seeing what's working for them, and then just building content around those keywords, and not just any content, but the best content?
So I think then so I learned a lot of what I know and what I do for clients from Ryan Stewart. He does a lot of outreach. People like Brian Dean talk about outreach, but they don't really teach you how to do it. So he'll say, you know, reach out to people, market your content. And for a long time, I was like, what does that even mean? And then I learned it from Ryan Stewart, like how to do that, how to use Google Sheets to stay organized with my outreach and stuff like that. And it's really just a lot of emailing. Like once you get people in the space, once you build those relationships, it's not as hard. But initially, like if you're a new kid on the block, like Roadmap is, you said, it might be a little harder just because it's a lot of cold emailing. But again, once you have relationships, it makes sense to be like, hey, I wrote this post. I think it would be helpful. If you want to link to it, great. If you want to give me your opinion, you want to share it, that would mean the world to me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And that kind of outreach sounds like it's very helpful. Like that is the key, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, again, like this is again why people hire good SEO agencies. So here's the problem, like selling SEO sucks because I'm competing with all of the number one ranking, $99, like everything in your spam folder. I'm competing with that. And I'm competing with, I'm going to do good work. And here's my results from other clients. And PS, I'm very expensive every month.
Yeah.
Versus you're like, but I got this other email from this guy who said for $99, he'll rank me first.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge mistake a lot of people make is two things. Either they hire somebody like that. That's a terrible mistake. Yeah. Number two is they get so taken aback by that. They're like, ugh, it just is, SEO is confusing and sketchy and I don't want anything to do with it. And they miss out on just huge opportunities that we've kind of shown just today in the, you know, that just by using simple tools, I hope it's kind of demystified things a little bit for everybody.
Yeah. And maybe let's give folks a few other kind of quick tips on how to get inbound links from other sites. One that Nick mentioned yesterday, and I was thinking about this and kind of kicking myself, is if you do any kind of speaking, like at a meetup, at a WordPress camp, a WordCamp, at a conference, whatever, when you give them your bio, you say, please link to my site, right? And for me, the mistake I made is that every time I spoke, I had a new project. So I was like, here's Justin from, you know, Build and Launch, or here's Justin from whatever. And I could have been building all these great inbound links, but I wasn't. I was using a different domain each time. So speak and have a domain just for your brand that you want to build some authority around. Don't have it spread out all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, Roadmap could crush this. What if they told people like, hey, we'll walk you through doing a roadmap for your product, and then we'd like to write a post for your website about how we walked you through this? Like, would that be helpful for you? Yeah. And then just in the post, link back to roadmap.space. It just is providing nothing but value upfront. I mean, let's be honest, like there's a lot of like link outreach of like that I do of please link to me. And I have like really strong tactics of doing that. I use a Chrome plugin. I think it's called Check My Links.
Okay.
Yeah, Check My Links. That tells you if there's broken links on a page. So if you had a page with 30 links to roadmap resources or something, or startup resources, things that startups would need, or tech startups, 10 of those links are broken, and you send them an email like, hey man, these 10 links are broken. I just wanted to let you know, here's what they are. If you're looking to replace any of those links, here's a helpful link. Thanks. Like that's value up front. But most of what I do is guest posting. Most of what I do is just providing that top level content. Again, just showing, here's the content I've made in the past. Here's why it's awesome. Now I like to make that for you and your audience. And people are like, dude, freaking of course. We need more good content. Like I did keyword research on you. I think you could rank for this. I'd like to make the best possible piece of content for you. And that's hard to scale, but that pays off forever. Because if you write like, let's say Justin, I wrote a guest post for you on some sort of topic that, you know, on SEO for software companies or SEO for SaaS startups.
Yeah.
And then that ranks in Google. Maybe I drive some links to it over time to your website, but I'm the author that guest posted. So then people get to the end and they're like, oh, Brendan's from Roadmap. Let me go check out Roadmap. Like, it pays dividends just over time. The better you do, the better I do. And like, we all win.
Have you found, can you still get good backlinks from Cora? Is that something that's working for you?
So Cora works for traffic. I would never rely on Cora for links, just because you can get in there and just hammer the whole website with links, and it's kind of sketchy. Similar to like Yahoo Answers and stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of traffic, you used to be able to game this like 3 or 4 years ago, where you would go in, answer something, and then go on Fiverr and buy a bunch of upvotes. So you were number one.
Yeah.
That doesn't work anymore. You'll get banned because they're smart. But I remember Ryan Stewart joking about, like, Rand Fishkin from Moz, who I'm a huge fan of, but Rand had answered and his personal brand meant that he was number one in the answer. So Ryan went in and bought a bunch of upvotes so he could be number one, and just to get Rand a little bit. And it's like, when you get, I mean, you know this, like, you have a lot of like in industry friends, like people kind of poke at each other and have fun with it. Yeah. But that doesn't work anymore. So you have to go in, and in Quora, I would advise, it's super helpful. Like, if I was Roadmap, I would go into Quora, and everything related, I would go in and provide a totally unique, very authentic, high quality answer from a person. Like, hey, I'm Justin or Brendan from Roadmap. Yeah. Here's what I would do if I were you. And eventually, over time, what Quora does is they will combine answers. So, you know, if I've answered 10 questions, maybe they combine that into one question because they're all very similar. Well, now I'm definitely authoritative in that. Yeah. And that's just about traffic. Yeah. Yeah. And I found, like, a lot of people want to know how they can put in links into Quora, like, in a natural way. And this is something I've done is, so I'm answering the question, how do I increase my MRR quicker? What I'm doing is, how do I get money quicker? So the answer I'm giving is based on a longer blog post, but I'm saying a good case study is this. I kind of say the crux of the argument. I have a image. I found, like, putting in a nice image or graph, it really helps in terms of people upvoting an answer. And then at the bottom, I put you can read the full case study here. And this case study is just a longer version of the Quora article, right? So here's that same graph, but there's just a lot more here. And I just make like a mini blog post in there. You could even put that video that you have, you can embed that in Quora. That would increase your video views, which then increases the amount that it shows up natively in YouTube. Like, oh, look at all these views he's getting. Even if it's not coming in YouTube, they like that. Things like that you can leverage. I had one I was trying to figure out for my for client SEO, how to use Upwork to get that. And it was a whole debacle. So I made a video for it, and then I put some smart tags on YouTube, and then I went to Quora, and every question about getting your profile profile accepted on Upwork, I just embedded that video. And that video has like 2,000 views, and most of those are coming off-site from YouTube. But now YouTube is bumping it up in the rankings because of those increased views. Like, it's, you know, that's super smart. Yeah. So there's a lot you can do, but I think you did a lot of really smart things with that Quora post of just make it like a blog post. Make it so super helpful that they're like, of course I want to read this whole thing. Don't just go in there and like, here's a link to smart things. Like, provide value up front. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're gonna start winding things down here. I also wanted to show folks, Brendan mentioned this app here. This is Buzzsumo. And so all I did was I put in productplan.com. That's a competitor to Roadmap. And we can see which of their blog posts or just content in general are getting shared the most. So for Product Plan, content around product management is getting shared a lot. Their first 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 are all around that topic. And look at those titles. That just screams at you of what type of title should the posts at Roadmap have.
Yeah.
5, 10, 3, 10. Look at how they're putting words like 2017 in there to tell Google, hey, this is, and people, this is updated. This is not old. And what's cool is in 2018, you just change the title. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just update it.
That's a really good trick. Like if you can put the date in, like the year, because we all do this too. Like if we're going like, you know, when we're searching for something, and if it has like, let's put like microconf in here. So this is an event, but I'm looking here like anything that says 2017, I'm interested in because that means it's this year, right? I'm more likely to click on these things than something that would say, you know, 2016. Or if I'm interested in next year's conference, I might put, you know, 2018, right?
You can get one up. Like, hey, what is, you could say like make a post about like what you think product roadmaps are going to be like in 2018 and how they're going to affect businesses, and be up on, I mean, if you go to photomba.net, I've optimized this site just for search. So like every post is something related. If you scroll down, like everyone has 2017 in the title past. I think my SEO is first, then a good case study, and then it's 2017, blah, blah, blah. And that's, again, it's telling Google the right signals, but it's also telling the reader like, hey man, I'm not writing about how to build a photography business 2 years ago, where it's like, you need to post more on Facebook. Like that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
This is what's working in 2017 for my real clients in my real business.
Yeah.
So I think that's super helpful. And I would advise Roadmap to kind of use a similar strategy or tactic.
Yeah. Sweet, man. This has been great. I think we got a lot more kind of actionable stuff. I noticed a lot of people were kind of getting excited about tools, and I've got all those links in the chat. What I'm going to do is I'll update the description for this video. So if you watch it later or you want to share it with a friend, you can come back and get all these tool links. First, let's answer one question. Helen's got a question. She says, what's the best practice to follow with using keywords in anchor text?
That's really good question. So I think this has been a problem in the past, right? Like Justin, let's use Roadmap. If Roadmap it's their brand name, so having Roadmap in the anchor text of a link, meaning like that's the actual words of the link, just so, because we're kind of using jargon here. It would make sense for them. But like, let's say you made a digital, like you, Justin Jackson, made a digital product on Roadmaps and you had 1,000 links and they all said Roadmap.
Yeah.
That would look really sketchy to Google. Like a lot of them should say, click here, get it, or like link, like very natural. The way when you're blogging, like however you set it, it could be part of a sentence or a phrase. I think trying to game keywords in links is, it's majoring in the minor. So I'd rather have more links. I don't really care what they say.
Yeah.
Obviously that when I'm guest posting, when I'm writing, I want to try to use some keyword or use my keyword research in there. But you put together some really smart stuff around topics they should be writing about. So whenever I'm linking, I don't want to just link to my homepage. I want to link to a piece of content and try and build that piece of content's authority. So I would just use some of the keywords from that content in that anchor text. But
gotcha. So
I wouldn't stress it.
So what you're talking about is this here. Let's see if this, I'm not sure if this is going to be big enough for folks, but let's see if I can bump this up. But you're talking about the anchor text is this piece right here, like the link label. Is that what people are talking about here?
Yeah, and even above it, like this link to the Moz homepage, like that, if everything that points to Moz says Moz or homepage or link, it doesn't really matter over time. Like the more links you have from good websites, the better.
Gotcha.
Google, I think that Google's at the point now where they're past that, where you can't tell them like, yes, the anchor text matters, but I think they're pulling from on-site. They're looking at where you're getting your links from, things like that to kind of build that authority too. So I wouldn't stress that kind of stuff. When you get a chance, use your keywords, but otherwise, your brand name works. Like if I was linking to you, I would use words like Mega Maker and Justin Jackson and cool hair and like all of this other stuff. Like, there's a lot of different things that could be in there. And I just don't think they matter as much as, they used to.
Yeah, yeah. If you guys are going to link to me, please start using Mega Maker because I'm trying to put everything over there. One more question because I think this is a really quick one.
Sure.
Enrique is asking, does a font size 0 and color transparent H1 tag work for SEO anymore?
Oh God. So that's like, does offering free WordPress themes and then sticking links, 1 pixel size links in the bottom of these free themes, and everybody who installs the theme then links to me. It's why I don't like Yoast.
Yeah.
Like, tell people you're forcing them to link to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll make that trade every day of the week because you make a great product. You have to maintain it. But I would never do like anything that's invisible. Again, like, I'm competing with $1 billion company trying to game them. And I don't want to fool them at all. I want to just come in like, honest work here, guys. Like, they call it like white hat is good, black hat is bad, gray hat is some of that like in between stuff. I'm cool with, all I do is white hat for clients. I don't ever want to mess with getting their websites hurt. My own stuff, I'll do more gray hat things like building out a secondary authority site also in the same niche and then linking back to myself. But I'm just building another great website that's helpful. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not building like 500 shallow websites. I think things when you get into like, it's the same color as the background and seems invisible, like all it takes is somebody at Google who's way smarter than me to write a script for that. And just to be like, just hammer all the websites that are doing that. And I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet, man. It was great having you on. I think we'll have to have you back in a bit. What I'm hoping to do, and for all you folks following at home, I want us to follow Roadmap over the next weeks and months and see how we're able to improve their SEO. And it would be great to have you come back and we could do a follow-up where we're like, okay, this is where we're at now. This is what we've been able to achieve. You know, what next? And keep kind of helping them out. Please go and check out Brendan on YouTube. Just search for his name, Brendan Hufford. Yep. Go to photomba.net. He's also on Twitter. I think you're just Brendan Hufford on there, right?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on the Instagram as the Brendan Hufford because some other jerk took Brendan Hufford on Instagram too quick. Hey man, I feel your pain with all the other Justin Jacksons out there because there's apparently one other Brendan Hufford that got to Instagram.
Man. Just be glad you don't have a professional sports athlete.
2 of them now.
Oh yeah,
you're in trouble. But yeah, like BrendanHufford.com is kind of the homepage. I have a podcast called Entrepreneurs in Coffee.
Yeah, it's very good.
That's great. Like I try to make it easy. It's just eandcoffee.com because nobody can spell entrepreneur, including me. So eandcoffee.com will take them there. And there's a lot of great stuff. I have paused that and have continued that story on YouTube just because it's a lot more fun for me and more creative.
Yeah.
So you can get a chuckle. You can see me doing some ridiculous stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. Brendan is very good on YouTube. I'll post that in the description as well. Thanks everybody in the chat. And thanks. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks guys.